a record number of Americans now dislike Hillary Clinton. Now, according to a new Washington Post ABC News survey released on Wednesday, that would be today, Hillary Clinton's image is now at the lowest point with the American public in her 25 years of public service. Wow. That's pretty bad. Now, okay. So they did this poll. They do this poll every once in a while. The July's edition of the same poll had her about at having a 42% favorability rating, right? Only 42% of Americans saw Hillary Clinton as favorable. Now she is at 41%. Now in June, her unfavorability was at 55%. Ooh. Her unfavorability, not favorability, which were the two previous numbers, but her unfavorability is now at 55%. This is not great. This is bad for Hillary Clinton. Let me tell you. When over half the country doesn't like you and you're running for president, that's not a good thing. It's not a good sign. Now, you could go into, and you make a very good argument if you did this, go into the fact that some of that isn't deserved. Now you're going to be like, no, well, wait a minute. Are you shilling for Hillary now? No. Hear me out. Because I'm actually trying to make a factual, unbiased, objective analysis of some of the things, some of the attacks against Hillary Clinton. Now hear me out. You've got some very justified attacks against Hillary Clinton, and you have some unjustified attacks against Hillary Clinton. For example, and you usually know by the things that they bring up when they attack Hillary Clinton, if you hear somebody talking about Benghazi, instantly know that they're bullshit. They're talking about bullshit because that whole thing is bullshit. Now, why do I say that? It's because 9 different investigations into Benghazi, led by Republicans, these are Republicans, with the sole goal of bringing down Hillary Clinton. They investigated her 9 times. At considerable taxpayer expense, by the way. What did they find? Dick. Nada. She's not at fault. She didn't do anything wrong. There was no stand-down order. She didn't send American troops in there to die. Okay, she didn't leave American troops in there to die. So that whole avenue of attack is bullshit. Now, on the other side, if you want to actually critique her on taking money from large corporations, from fossil fuel companies, from the banks, from Goldman Sachs, doing these speeches for $225,000 a piece, that's totally legitimate. That's totally fair. Because we have a problem right now in America where corporations and lobbyists, well, they can send in their lobbyists and basically bribe our politicians into passing right-wing, corporate-friendly policies. If you want to attack her on that, that's completely legitimate. There are legitimate attacks and there are illegitimate attacks. Know the difference. And the combination of both of those has no doubt led, and the fact that she's been in public life for as long as I can remember. Right, I'm gonna be like 33 years old. Okay, I'm old, and I remember Hillary Clinton and both the Clintons since I was just a young little lad, little wee boy. You know, I remember. She's been in public life for as long as I can remember, and I'm fucking old. Okay, so she's been there a long time. There's been a lot of attacks against her, and she's done a lot of questionable things, no doubt. If you want to talk about how she voted for Iraq, perfectly valid thing to critique her on. Perfectly valid. Anybody who voted for the Iraq War, questionable. Even though it was bad intelligence from the Bush administration. Still, not great judgment. Bernie Sanders had the judgment to say, hey, you know what? This looks shady. I'm not going to vote for this. Anyway, as I said, a lot of that stuff added to her negative favorability. How she treated Bernie Sanders during the primary also helped her negative favorability in some of the attacks against Bernie Sanders, which were on legitimate issues. And by the way, I've had an issue with the way that Bernie Sanders attacked her. I don't think he attacked her hard enough. I think he was too soft on her. I think he was too nice to her. But certainly, that also added to her negative favorability ratings. So keep all of that information in mind when you look at how poorly people feel about one of the main presidential candidates in this race. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's an objective analysis. Just looking at the facts. Just looking at things that she's actually done. Okay? Now, just because Hillary Clinton continues to be deeply unpopular, that doesn't mean Trump is doing better. In fact, Donald Trump is doing worse. He's even more unpopular. 63% of the American people view Donald Trump unfavorably, while only 35% view him favorably. Now, that's not a big difference between that and Hillary Clinton. That's what, 6 points, roughly, between them? The two most unpopular candidates in American history, running both in the Democratic and Republican parties. This is why a lot of Americans are now looking at third-party options, or at least considering it. They might not go there, they might go there. There's a significant portion of people that are both looking at Jill Stein and Gary Johnson. The two other candidates, the Libertarian Party candidate, Gary Johnson, the Green Party candidate, Jill Stein, who's, of course, to the left of Bernie Sanders, definitely to the left of Hillary Clinton. And then Gary Johnson, who, look, libertarians, I have a very interesting relationship with libertarians because you can talk to them, right? I have libertarian friends. I can sit down and have a sane conversation with them. Couldn't do that with a Trumper. And in some cases, I can't even do that with a full-throated Hillary supporter. So, libertarians I can have a conversation with because I at least agree with half of what they're saying. Can't do that with partisans on both sides. Now, with libertarianism, I agree with about half of their policies. With Gary Johnson, I agree with maybe half, maybe less than half of what they stand for. And when you get into the economic stuff, well, that just, that's cuckoo land. And why do I say that? It's more of like a fantasy of humanity is better than it is. If you allow corporations to do whatever they want, you get rid of the minimum wage, you get rid of regulations, well, then the companies will do what's right. They'll do the right thing. They'll be altruistic. Now, that doesn't exist. That doesn't work in the real world. Why? Because people are not great. They're not inherently good. They won't inherently do the right thing if the shackles of government are released from them. It's a bit of a fantasy world, right? Where I guess they think people are better than they are and that government's the one that's making them bad. I don't agree. Okay, that's cuckoo. But at least when you speak to libertarians, for the most part, they make sense. They can identify the problems. They can identify that, yes, the government is corrupt. It is corrupted by big money interests. It is not representative of the people. You can talk to them. You can't talk with Trumpers. Okay, you can't talk with a lot of diehard Hillary Clinton supporters. Now, I'm not sure why I got off on that tangent, but to bring it back, this is why a lot of people are looking at Gary Johnson, libertarians, because of how unpopular Donald Trump is and how unpopular Hillary Clinton is. And it's amazing and really sad that we are stuck with these two terrible options for the main two parties. Look, anybody who thinks that Jill Stein or Gary Johnson is going to win, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. Likely not going to happen. Yes, but if the argument, if people will just actually vote for them, then that'll work. While that is true, yes, if people vote for them, if everybody votes for them, they do win. That's true, right? That's kind of how it works. But at the same time, I don't see everybody flipping to vote for them. Like I said, it's just we're stuck with two bad options at this point, because I don't see a massive shift to the Green Party. I don't see a massive shift to the Libertarian Party. And look, these movements, the Libertarian Party, the Green Party, those movements, those parties take time to build anyway into major parties. So there's that thing. Okay, so that's where I'm going at. Now, back to Clinton and Trump. I know, as I said, I get off in a little bit of a tangent here. But as far as favorability ratings overall, that's what you have. The two most unpopular candidates. In fact, Clinton has a 55% unfavorability rating overall, according to the Real Clear Politics average of polls. That's terrible. Trump has about 61% in the same index. We have two deeply unpopular candidates and two deeply unpopular parties, and more people that are going towards, or I should say, they're going away from the parties. They're registering more as independents. They're staying away from these parties. They're quitting the Republican Party. They're quitting the Democratic Party. This has been a strange election. A super strange election. How two people that are so unpopular got into these positions, you kind of have to wonder about what these two parties stand for and how their processes are. I mean, if their processes are legitimate, because there are some questions on that, right? And basically what the voters are thinking. What are you thinking? Nominating these people that are so deeply unpopular. I'll never understand. Hey everybody, if you like this video, then please like this video and share. And if you want to see more like this, then please hit that subscribe button below.